I'd like to call the village board meeting to order. This is number 3082. It's September 22nd, 2014. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Abernathy? Present. Kim? Here. Meyer? Sullivan?
Here.
Voss?
Here.
Semple?
Very good. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just sit you right in here. All right. Welcome, everyone. First on the agenda is item 4, the approval of the minutes. First up is the Committee of the Whole meeting from August 25th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kim, second by Voss. Discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy? Kim?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next up, the Board of Trustees meeting, Community and Economic Development Committee meeting from August 25th, 2014.
So we need to make some corrections to those minutes.
Okay?
So the first correction is that I, as chairman, called the meeting to order and not the mayor. The second one is the attendance should only be the people on the committee, which would be Voss, Meyer, and Semple. And the third correction is that we had a motion to recommend approval. I think I may have made that motion and it was seconded by Meyer or Semple. Do you remember?
Might have been me, but I won't swear to it. You'd have to listen to the tape.
Okay, well,
We'll do that.
there you go. So with those changes in mind, I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Okay, motion by Voss,
Second.
second by Abernathy. Any other discussion? Okay. Please call the roll.
Wait.
Oh,
I can't.
No, so we don't have a quorum and we can't do these. Because it can only be the people on the
that's
committee.
correct.
Okay, so we'll have to
Okay.
make the changes and bring them back.
So do we need a motion to table it, or we'll just table it? What do we need to? We can't, we don't have a quorum to table it.
You
No,
won't table
so
it.
it's
No,
just,
We don't table it? Okay.
We'll just act on it.
We'll just act on it next time, okay? That takes us to then the regular board meeting from August 25th, 2014.
I'll make a motion to approve those
Motion by
minutes.
Voss,
Second.
second by Abernathy. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, 2 more to go. A Committee of the Whole meeting, September 8th, 2014.
So I'll make those, a motion to approve those.
Second.
Motion by Voss, second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Motion carries. Finally, a regular meeting from September 8th, 2014.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Kim,
Second.
second by Abernathy. Discussion?
Wait,
Okay.
I'm sorry, these are for when?
This is the last one on the agenda here. Regular
Okay.
meeting from September 8th. It's item 4E on the agenda.
Yes, I just, FYI to staff, because I have a printed agenda, just in case. Those aren't on the printed agenda.
Really?
Yes. Every single time that we print an agenda, it prints different than the.
No, they're on here.
Go
But
ahead.
I
There's
have,
4E.
well, okay, they're on my printed agenda.
Oh, you're,
Not on my printed agenda.
no, go back.
On this,
A, B.
Oh,
Oh, it is missing.
yes, I have 4D.
D.
No
was the
E.
last one. So,
I have a 4E.
not on your cover sheet, not on the,
The attachments, the exhibit is there, but not on
Right.
the,
the exhibit's there,
Which
but
will
not on the
explain my
front page.
confusion.
Okay, but you do have the attachment.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have a first?
Kim and Ebony.
Kibben Abernathy, okay. Any other discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Kim?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Boss?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, that takes us to the part of the evening where we have public commentary. Does anyone here wish to address the board? Okay, 1, 2, all right. Well, ma'am, why don't we go? You go.
My name's Karen Raymond.
Oh, go ahead and come up to the, yeah, please come up to the microphone, and if you could just state your name and address, that'd be great.
My name's Karen Rainish. I've lived in Mundelein for 23 years.
Could I have your address, please?
693 Wortham Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm here because I read something in the newspaper about a proposal to have private free libraries in Mundelein. I've seen what goes on in neighborhoods because I walk a lot. While it is good to consider new ideas, not all new ideas are good ones. Ideas need to work for the entire community, not impose on others, and be good enough to make it worth the extra work for village staff and/or possible costly litigation against the village. The idea of allowing boxes for private free libraries on people's front lawns is not one of those good ideas. And I'll give you some reasons why. First of all, they're not needed. We have a public institution that serves the purpose of allowing citizens to read books for free. The books there are safe and dry. Everyone can have access. It is called the public library. They also take your unwanted books. We do not need this idea. Now I'd like to address the issue of why not? What possible harm can it cause? Well, I can think of several. For children learning to ride a bike on the sidewalk, it would be another obstacle near the sidewalk to crash into while they are concentrating on something else like balance. A box with hard objects in it that can fall near the sidewalk. Then, for people like me who live downwind from neighbors, it means more work. When the prevailing winds blow hard, I am the one picking up the mail that is blown out of a mailbox, the litter from garbage cans that are overflowing, the toys from others' yards. I do not want to pick up more of other people's stuff that has come from a blown open door, this time a paperback book. It does not matter if you have a required hook. Who is going to enforce this and make sure it works? Village workers? They have enough to do. As a taxpayer, I am protesting the waste of village resources. We have plenty of rules that are not enforced now. We don't need more ordinances. We also live in a town that has all kinds of people, including different household budgets. There are many people who have trouble keeping up with needed maintenance on mailboxes, fences, driveways, etc. So I question allowing homeowners to build yet another man-made object that will need maintenance. Our winters are hard on things. If people have the money and time to build these boxes, then maybe they have the money or time to donate to a neighbor in need instead. Mailboxes are necessary. Private free library boxes are not. Then there are the people living in every neighborhood that do not understand what being a good neighbor is like, and they don't keep the property up. I expect my elected officials to care about the village image. We don't need more visual clutter, more taste-specific man-made objects in front of our houses. My own neighborhood already has a pink octopus and a bright red fire plug, non-operating, displayed on front lawns, among other things. These objects are removed when the house goes up for sale. And I think that says something about what most people want and what enhances neighborhoods. Most people want to see plants and trees, not taste-specific objects. We don't need more visual clutter on our streets. Most landscapers would tell us to put our lawn ornaments in the backyard because very few of us do them well. Our ash trees are dying and I don't see replacements being planted. This is a real problem that needs addressing. Our village should be informing citizens about hardy, native alternatives and perhaps offering a better price from a tree grower than we could get individually. This is what people should be working on, paying to replace the street trees that the village does not seem to be able to afford. Not spending money on something that is totally unnecessary, used by the few, but possibly offensive to many. Most of my neighbors haven't heard about this. They don't read a newspaper on a regular basis. So I know I speak for at least 3 other people. Another problem with our streets is that when AT&T wanted to install their ugly metal utility boxes, they told us they would landscape them. They did not in Mundelein. I see those boxes on one of the main streets going through town, not landscaped. But I see them landscaped in the neighborhoods of Vernon Hills. Why does Vernon Hills have more clout with AT&T than we do? Our village has more pressing and beneficial work to be done. Please work on our present problems and not vote to create another. That vote would be no to private free libraries. The least the village could do is survey us, the people, before potentially changing our neighborhood so drastically. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Robin Meyer, resident, 646 Lowman Drive, Mundelein. I'm going to submit this in writing after I read this statement so there is no confusion that I'm speaking as a resident and taxpayer of Mundelein. I hope the village does not lose sight of its citizens' First Amendment protected right of free speech without worry of future retaliation or censure. Citizens can be residents, business owners, employees, commission members, and yes, even elected officials. The act of becoming an elected official does not mean that you give up your rights as a taxpayer and resident to speak about matters of public concern. As a trustee, I speak for the concern and benefit of the residents and businesses. As a resident, I speak for myself. For speech to be protected, you must be speaking as a private citizen on a matter of public concern. It was clearly stated during and after the August 6, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that I was speaking as a resident and not as an elected official. As a former Plan Commission member, we listened to the public and even heard opinions or comments from trustees who didn't clarify who they were speaking on behalf of. All commission members then and now make recommendations based on integrity, input from concerned parties, and factual information, not on undue pressure from anyone. Give your commission members due credit and don't diminish their role by misguided implications. Little free libraries should not be penalized because I, as a resident, exercise my protected First Amendment right of free speech. Respectfully, Robin Meyer, resident.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Mayor?
Thank you. Yes, Trustee Sullivan.
The first lady that spoke, her name was Karen, I believe. Could you?
Rainish.
Last
Rainish.
name is?
Rainish.
Rain. And spell that R-A-Y?
R-A-N-I.
Ramish. Okay, thank you.
Okay. No one else? Okay. We'll close the floor and move on to presentations and awards. First up is the mayoral proclamation honoring the Community Protestant Church on its 125th anniversary. And are you folks here to get this? Let me read this, and then you want to come up and get it at that point, okay? All right, here we go. All right, so here's the proclamation. Whereas in 1889, the Rockefeller Church Association was formed with 16 members, and whereas in 1925, the congregation changed its name to the First Congregational Church of Mundelein. And whereas the small church that stood on the northeast corner of Route 176 and Route 45 for many years became an important center of activity for the whole community. And whereas in 1947, in order to encourage openness to all people of various denominations, the congregation adopted the name Community Protestant Church. And whereas in 1949, after years of hard work and dedication by the congregation, the sanctuary, offices, and said hall were dedicated, and in 1958 the education wing was added, all of which are still in use today. And whereas the members of Community Protestant Church were a vital part of the Mundelein community, contributing many volunteer hours to promote peace and justice locally, nationally, and globally. And whereas on September 28th, 2014, Community Protestant Church will gather for worship and fellowship to commemorate the 125th anniversary of the congregation. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Mundelein that on the special occasion of its 125th anniversary, the Community Protestant Church, officially known as the First Congregational Church of Mundelein, Alex Malazai, pastor, be recognized as a spiritual and moral leader of our community and honored for the good work its members have contributed over these many years. Congratulations, 125 years, that's fantastic. So, who do I give this to? Congratulations.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Awesome. Congratulations. There you go. All right. All right, fantastic. Next, Fire Prevention Week Proclamation 2014. It's in the agenda, and just a few words about this. We had a fire chief about a year ago down there by Diamond Lake, and you know, thank God for smoke detectors that save lives in that situation. And rather than just read the proclamation, I'll just say a few words, and that is just if everyone could just, you know, two things. Just number one, common sense. Check the batteries of the smoke detectors in your home. And the other thing is just to apply common sense and just look around your home and look for we all have probably a bag of rags, old towels that we keep stored together for the uses that come along. Well, where do you store those? Just think in your mind where they are in your home and just ask yourself if they're too close to something that could make them catch fire. And just be on the lookout for things that just are just common sense. You don't put a stack of recycled newspapers right next to your water heater that has a little pilot light there going. So just common sense. And just as a note, it's Fire Prevention Week coming up here this year. That takes us to public hearings. There are none. That takes us to my report, the mayor's report, and I have a few items, one motion and a meeting call. First, though, I'd like to just acknowledge the great efforts of all the volunteers and the vendors and the folks that helped make the One World Festival such a success this last weekend. Human Relations Commission did a great job. On the village side, Mike Flynn, Victor Barrera, Amanda Orenchek, Colleen Malik. You guys it was a great event. Of course, weather was awesome. So, did it rain at the end or did it stay? It rained at the end. Okay, I was there near the beginning, but that's too bad. But I thought the food was just all the vendors, more vendors this year. And I like the setup too. The staging was excellent, so nice job. Okay. First up, an ordinance amending ordinance number 41269. This regards the sale of alcoholic liquor in Mundelein. This comes to us from last week. I need a motion to pass an ordinance amending ordinance number 41269, regulating the sale of alcoholic liquor in the Village of Mundelein, Illinois, to amend the provisions regarding Class D licenses.
So moved.
Motion by Robin, or motion by Meyer, second by Sullivan.
Okay.
Discussion. Trustee Abernathy.
Yes, please. I do have a couple of questions regarding some of the events that are being requested.
Okay.
And the increase, because we're setting a precedent here of increasing the number of licenses an organization can use from 6 to 9. This isn't just for an individual organization, this is for any not-for-profit organization within the village of Mundelein. So I think we need to be careful about the precedent that we set, that anyone now can come to us and ask for 9 specific, can ask for 9 events. So that's where my concern is, the precedent that we're setting. And the other thing is, some of these events, and I know maybe you can answer, the way that some events are for 21 and older, some are not. And there's a lot of children at these events. And I don't know if there's areas roped off where only alcohol is being sold.
All I can say is that you're referring to the Guadalupe dances.
I'm referring to the Mother's Day dance, the parish picnic, the fish fry, the Guadalupanos dances. I'm referring to all these events. Are they quartered off like we do for the One World Festival only allows 21 and older? Texas Hold'em tournaments, only 21 and older can go there. I'm worried more about the events where children are present and what kind of control is being done with the alcohol around the youth.
Can you give your name and address, please?
Don Rothman, 715 Northeast Fulton.
There you go. Thank you.
And the dancers are well supervised. All of the bartenders that do the dancers have to go before and do the basic training as was requested by the village. They all have the licenses and the training for that purpose. And I've never been to the dances myself, right? But we have never had any issues that I know of. As far as I know, the Guadalupanos make sure that the alcohol is maintained and monitored the whole time. The picnic is the same way. The picnic is cornered off.
The picnic is, I don't know, the fish fry I don't think is quartered off in the parish hall.
It's not cornered off, no, but it's well monitored and maintained. And the purpose of asking for the additional is, since the school has closed, we lost the 6 that the school had. So in order to increase our fundraising revenue, the parish is going to pick up 2 of the Texas Hold'em tournaments, the ones the school did. So the parish will now do 4. And the fish fry is a parish event. And then the extra dance from the Guadalupanos is another parish event. We held them to 2 last year, and they want to do 3.
Well, I get that. Like I said, the Texas Hold'em tournaments, they're only 21. You can't go unless you're over 21.
Correct.
So those aren't the concern. The concern is where we have youth. Now, Chief, are I was just told that the bartenders are all Bassett trained.
The ones for the Guadalupano dancers.
Yes, not every event, but the Guadalupano dance are.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Can I, for those of us
Trustee
who
Voss.
maybe don't belong to this church, could I just ask a few questions? So not just beer and wine, all kinds of alcohol are available?
Only at the Texas Hold'em tournaments. The dances have beer and margaritas. The Texas Hold'em are the only ones that have a full bar. Fish fry is beer and wine only. The spaghetti dinner is beer and wine only. The
Spaghetti
picnic is
dinner?
beer.
Wait,
So
spaghetti.
Okay,
The spaghetti dinner is beer and wine.
What, that's not on your list.
We didn't have one last year, so I didn't need that license. We lost the group that did that one.
okay. So just, again, sort of, general. So the church buys alcohol that people purchase as a moneymaker for the church?
It's donated. My husband and I donated
So all of the alcohol for
Yes.
every event?
for the 4 Texas Hold'em tournaments. We donated.
Okay.
The Guadalupano's is donated. The only one I purchased it for is actually the picnic.
So all the alcohol is donated, people come to this event and they purchase this alcohol, and it's a fundraiser for the church to sell alcohol. Am I getting this?
That's a part of it. The main fundraiser is the Texas Hold'em tournament, or the dances, or the fish fry.
Okay, well, so I know what Texas Hold'em is. Guadalupano, I don't
It's
know.
our group. It's one of our groups that we have at the church that run their dances. They're Spanish dances. The entire parish is invited. But they do this to celebrate Mother's Day. They do it to celebrate the holidays, and they do a Halloween one.
Okay, so all along, Santa Maria has been having these events. Some were licensed under the school, and some were licensed under Santa Maria. And so it's not that you're changing the events, it's that there's no more school
Correct.
to umbrella them, and so it's now coming under one.
Yes.
And so, it's not that you're really increasing the number. And I understand Trustee Abernathy's concern is, no offense, but you guys aren't a revenue producer for the village. And if every nonprofit organization has 9 alcohol selling events per year, then these nonprofit organizations are competing with our local establishments that are revenue producers for the village. And that becomes a concern. And I think that it's a valid concern to give pause, though the other half of that is, according to the statistics we have, apparently Santa Maria is the only organization that regularly sells alcohol to its members.
They're not just our members. The poker tournaments are open to the public. They're basically more than our parishioners that attend those.
Right, I understand that, but, so from my point of view, we don't want nonprofits competing with for-profit businesses. That's a problem. If every school and every church in Mundelein wanted to have 9 events a year, it would be a lot. That would be a really lot. It would be problematic for our local businesses, and it would be concerning, because historically, we don't have that many. You guys are really the only ones that are doing it, and Carmel has a couple. I am not as concerned that we are stepping on the toes of our businesses. If every school came in and every PTO came in and wanted to do this, I would have to say, no, we can't allow 20 different nonprofit establishments to have 9 events a year.
Okay. Who are we competing with? I don't understand what businesses I'm taking business away from.
So,
I mean, it's not like I have kegs of beer or a full bar with 20 bottles of every liquor that's there. We might have 1 of each at the
We
tournament.
sell two cases of beer, 2 or 3 cases of beer, a half a bottle of Jack, a half a bottle of vodka, and maybe 2 bottles of wine. we may take in $200 or $250. It's just there for the players to
To
have.
give the players to
I
get
get-
there.
And
I-
there's no place in Mundelein that allows you to, well,
Gamble.
except for the video.
Right. I understand that, and again, my point is that if every nonprofit was requesting what you were requesting, it would be a problem. Since you guys seem to be the only one who need this, and you're not really changing what you're doing, you're continuing the way that it has been. It's just that because you don't have two separate entities anymore, it seems like it's more. I don't really have a problem because you're the only ones who are doing it. If we had a lot of groups that were requesting this, I would not be so inclined, I guess. I'd be concerned that I would need to protect our business owners. As it is, as you say, it's a few times a year and it's people's choice to participate.
Right, and that's not the main purpose of the events. It's there if people want it, just maybe get them in the door to do the rest of the fundraising.
Okay?
Trustee Kim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In reviewing the packet, I do see that Santa Maria has about 9 or 10 that they've done each year, and this goes back the last 2 years. But the other people who pull, it looks like 3 for Carmel 1 year, 4 for Carmel the other year, 1 for MCC each year. The village has 1 year and 2 the other year. I'm just saying that so that the people who didn't see the packet understand that the differences between like Santa Maria asking for more and then the fact that the close second is only 4 per year. That being said, I actually spent quite a while thinking about this because it was hard for me to wrap my brain around the fact that there's like the gambling and the drinking at the church. That's all just like I say. But once I, put the government hat on and you go, this is a nonprofit and this is a fundraiser. I would have to disagree that I think it doesn't compete with the establishments in town because there's a set date, there's a set activity that they're doing, and I have a beer every now and then, maybe even more than one. But if I'm not going to play Texas Hold'em, or I'm not going to go to a school dance, I'll probably go to one of the bars in town. So I don't feel that it's a direct competition. That being said, the argument that if we raise it to 9, then every nonprofit's going to want to do this. The closest second is 3 or 4 per year. So, that's. I know that government technically likes to go on the safe side and advocate like what about worst case scenario. But so far, if every single one of these did 9. The PTO does 9, but currently the PTO does 0, for any of these other school districts.
I totally agree with you. If the PTO came to us and other groups wanted to start also doing the same thing, then I would say that we would have to lower it. Since they're the only ones consistently doing it, I don't really think it's an issue. That was what I was trying to say. Apparently I didn't say it well,
Thanks
but
for
you didn't get that.
I'm always glad when nonprofits are trying to do things in town because they fulfill a hole that, the government can't. You provide programs, there's scouts, all sorts of things that benefit from this. And in some ways, the money goes back to the community and the service you provide. That being said, I would be a yes for this. And actually, if I could exercise a little bit of small government, I would ask if there could be a way that there's no cap on no set number. Because who else? I mean, the numbers are here. We have the evidence. And if we go fact-based, we raise it to 9, there's nobody else. Anyway, that's just my discussion piece. But I would vote yes on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Sullivan?
Is it my turn?
Yes,
my turn.
It's your turn.
Well, I have to first offer a disclaimer. I'm a member of Santa Maria Parish. I've been a member for over 40 years. And so I have some historical perspective to offer you. I guess it's true that Catholic organizations tend to offer some beer and wine, at their events, but they are basically social events. I've never known them to be involved with excessive consumption of alcohol. I've never known them to be unsupervised in regard to the consumption of alcohol. And in our particular village, I don't think that these events have ever been problematic for the area of public services. They're social events. The concern about competition with our local liquor establishments is one that really isn't borne out by the proprietors of other establishments. And in fact, in my view, of the few times I've been to some of these events, I think there are more people present from out of town than there are local people. As such, it's perhaps positive from the standpoint of promoting business. So this is something that isn't new. It's been going on, and as I said, in my experience, for over 40 years. Probably it's been over 60 years, but I was just a youth then, so I couldn't get in. But at any rate, I have no problem with providing this extension of this Class D liquor license to Santa Maria.
Mr. Mayor?
Don't have any problem whatsoever.
Trustee Abernathy.
Okay, I wasn't going to go there, but since Trustee Sullivan, I am a member of Santa Maria. I used to work at Santa Maria. And while I worked there, we had to shut down the Guadalupanos dances because of all of the problems that arose from them.
And we haven't had any in the last 6 years that I've done this.
I understand, well, it hasn't been 6 years. Okay. All I'm saying is, that's where this came from. There have been issues with alcohol, and that's why we had to stop these dances. Because there was no supervision. It was a free-for-all. There were numerous police calls at the time. You had to even hire security for these events. So that's why I wanted to bring that back and had a concern with them. Because there is a history of issues happening at these dances. So, that's where my concern is. I would like to see it on a temporary basis, and if there's issues that arise out of these dances, I'd like to have some recourse.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Well then,
Yes.
I don't think we're differentiating between the events. The organization is coming for a permit. And I don't think we can exclude some events as opposed to others. My understanding is in the recent past history, there's been no problem. And I'm relying on staff, if we make this approval of this number of Class D licenses, I would rely on staff to determine whether or not they should be granted or not. There is still a petition, an application for a license. That doesn't mean that it has to be granted. What we're saying is you can't have any more than 9. But if something is wrong with some of these events, then staff can deny these permits, as I understand it.
Yeah, if I could just clarify that. You're absolutely right, Trustee Sullivan. There is a formal process they have to go through. We're simply setting the number of events, and we're not dictating what the events are.
Right.
And each one is unique. They have their different circumstances, and I think each department gets a copy of those, and each of them weigh in, particularly the police department, and when there are things that we think need to be changed. I just know that whether it's Santa Maria or any other organization, I know that they've always been cooperative and have changed things to make sure that these events are being done in a safe manner and an appropriate way so that it's not a negative on the community, it's more of a positive. So, but you're absolutely right, there is a process, and so far it's worked out.
You You good? Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee
Yeah.
Meyer?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, when we talked about it briefly at the last meeting, it was asked by the police department if in the current present, if there were any problems, and they had indicated at that time that there were not.
Okay.
So I don't think we should be looking at what happened 6 or more years ago and maybe focus on what's going on currently and presently.
Okay, we good? All right. Clerk, please take a roll.
Meyer,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, let's see here. All right, that takes me to item 8B. There's a meeting call for a committee of the whole meeting regarding term limits on board-approved commission members. The meeting will be on October 13th, 2014 at 6 p.m. right here. And that concludes my report.
We're going to, Mr. Mayor, we're
Yes.
going to discuss the term limit event that's going to come up in March. It's called an election.
That's for elected officials.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm
Yes.
sorry, could we just go over the meeting schedule for October? Because don't we have a few extra meetings in October?
Well, if I could clarify the one-item meeting call, that's one of the aspects of, I think the board wanted to discuss the entire process for advertising for and announcements of commission members. So this is not only one of the topics, was whether or not the board should pass an ordinance that would limit the terms of commission members, but it's there's a whole component that deals with the website and how we announce and the schedule of when we announce these openings are going to occur. So that's part of it. Regarding other meetings, I think there is strategic planning on October 6th
Thank you.
at
6.
Thank
6
you,
o'clock, yep.
6 p.m. And I think there's one other open item, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. There was a committee of the whole meeting. But those are the two. First one's October 6th. No, that's for a community event. But October 6th, strategic planning. October 13th, committee of the whole, to talk about commissions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, trustee reports. 9A, Public Works Committee, Trustee Meyer.
I don't, excuse me, I don't believe there's anything to discuss tonight, and I just received verification that we have nothing on our agenda for tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Finance Committee, Trustee Sullivan.
Why, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm struggling with the paper here. This little screen is once again proving to be recalcitrant. At any rate, we do have one motion. It's written here on the paper. Get that thing away from me. I can only take one at a time.
I was trying to help you.
That motion is to pay AT&T $4,995.64, and I'll make that motion.
Motion by Sullivan.
Second.
Second by Voss. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Kim. Oh, Holly's gone.
Holly's gone.
I
1, 2,
missed
3,
that.
4. Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Meyer,
Abstain.
Uh-oh. Then I'll vote yes. Mayor Sylvester, yes. Motion carries, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, on our omnibus list of motions, we have one to pay bills somewhere in the area of $900,000. One of the main of those is an amount for our streets program, the Chicagoland paving. This is an amount of more than half of the total, $568,030.91. And unless anyone has a question or a thought in regard to the bill list or other matters of dollars and cents, Yes, trustee Voss, can I help you?
Chairman Sullivan, you could help me. On this bill pay list is an amount.
Which page?
Really good question. Do you remember what page, Doug? It's for, we paid Mundelein Park District memberships for 13 individuals.
That would start with M.
1, 2, 3,
And
4,
the,
5 that, 5 that had previously attended. And then when I asked our finance director about it, it's 8 new memberships for employees not a member. And I'm sorry, I thought the deal was that they had to attend a certain amount of times and then we paid. Do I have this wrong?
It's partially correct. I would never say that you were wrong.
Okay.
The first year, we pay for the membership, and then they're required to attend a minimum of 100 times a year.
Okay.
And if they don't, and it's a rolling 12 months, because employees start their memberships at different times, and then after that 12-month cycle, there's an evaluation to determine if they've attended 100 times. And if they have, then we will continue to pay their membership. If they haven't, then they're on their own for paying their membership. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Also, there is one other item that would be of interest. The lady who spoke to us, Ms. Ramish, wondered about our emerald ash borer situation. In this particular month, we have spent over $37,000 in regard to taking care of tree issues. Some of that has been trimming, but the majority of that has been for the removal of emerald ash borer trees, those affected with that disease, which also includes the replacement of trees in the parkways where those trees have been removed. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. That takes us to Public Safety Committee, Trustee Semple. This would go to the Vice Chair would be Abernathy. Trustee Abernathy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a resolution this evening regarding the notice of proposed rulemaking proceedings, hazardous materials, enhanced tank car standards and operational controls for high-hazard flammable trains before the Pipelines and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration and docket number PHMSA 2012-0082. I think Mr. Boucher could help us with this. Oh, no, public safety, I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying.
Is this a motion?
No, it's not. It doesn't show.
It's supposed to be a motion to adopt.
A motion to adopt this. Okay, so it is a motion to adopt. I'm sorry, it didn't say that. So-
Second.
Okay.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Voss.
Chief.
I was going to let Adam take this.
Yeah, I'm used to saying Adam, so.
Don't expect to get this passed. So with brevity, TRAC is the regional answer to the Canadian National that worked very hard when we had the Surface Transportation Board hearings with the purchase of the EJ&E. There's been a lot of work over the last year with trying to increase regulations on certain tank cars that carry flammable liquids and flammable combustibles. It fell a little bit short of what we were anticipating from a public safety standpoint, and so this is a resolution that would ask that the hearing process that they had be changed to include the DOT without getting into a lot of technicalities. What is heightening this in the area is we have a lot of Bakken crude oil that's coming out of South Dakota, North Dakota, Saskatchewan that's transferred by rail. About 85% of it is transferred by rail because there is no pipeline system up in that area. And so we see a lot of the Bakken crude coming through here to be refined, and it's throughout the Midwest. I mean, this is not just unique to our area. And so we're getting on board with TRAC. They're in the Barrington area and trying to hopefully get the regulations changed with PHMSA.
Thank you.
Yes, Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Sashko, could I ask and paraphrase if I understand this correctly? So the train entity then is the one who is seeking to only do the .110 cars when there's 20% or 20 or fewer flammable cars?
Correct. The rail industry, well,
No, 20 or more? Is
yeah.
that what it was? 20
The
or more?
Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Administration was charged with the responsibility of evaluating this DOT 111 issue. It's been out there for 20 years. This has been known that the cars will fail. If you remember the big incident in Quebec, the Lac Mégantic tragedy, very unique when you read all the details about it. But, you know, the rail industry is certainly not in a position to try to retrofit, you know, all these cars. There's hundreds of thousands of cars out there. This is an effort by the National Transportation Safety Board and other localized groups to try to encourage the rail industry. It's commerce. It's very difficult, as we saw with the EJ&E hearings and the Surface Transportation Board. It's not an easy thing to change. So this is just, you know, grassroots efforts at trying to change that and make them safer.
So they're asking for exemption if there's 20 or fewer cars, and we're saying no matter how many
No
cars,
matter how many cars.
we need to have the
Right,
better
because
tankers.
if in my report, 43 out of 46 incidents in the U.S. had fewer than 1 or 2 cars that actually were punctured or, you know, somehow the liquid, combustible or flammable liquid, depending on what they were carried, ignited. And so 20 or more cars is almost ridiculous.
Right. You are correct. I think we would be doing what's best for the people if the cars were the newer
Without a doubt.
cars. You're right. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Meyer.
Yeah, when I was reading the resolution 150503, and it commented in like the third paragraph, interested parties have until September 20th, 2014 to weigh in on the proposed rules, the agency.
It should be September 30th. That's a typo.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in line with this. That's why we brought it before the board tonight.
Okay,
It is
so-
September 30th. That is a typo.
All right, so we're going to correct the typo too? Because I was a little concerned because it's a 22nd.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it is the 30th. That is the deadline for submitting this.
Okay, anyone else? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And Chief Shafko, anything else for us this evening? How was your open house?
The open house was fantastic. Thank you for asking. We had a really great crowd, beautiful day. Estimated over 1,500 visitors, and just thanks for everybody coming out. So it was great.
Very good. Anything to report, Chief Gunther?
Yes, ma'am. On Saturday, September 27th, we have the National Prescription Drop-Off Day at the Police Department. So I encourage anybody that has any prescription drugs in their home that they do not need or want, may bring them to the station and drop them off. No questions asked, and we will dispose of those properly. That's September 27th. We also have the homecoming this weekend for Carmel, and our Latino Academy started last week. It's our third one, and the Senior Academy started also last week on the 15th up at Del Webb. And Friday night at the Mundelein High School football game is Operation Stand Down. And I know we talked about it last time, but I just want to remind anybody that it's a program that we participate in with other high schools and other police departments throughout the county. And if you have a unwanted, slightly used jacket or winter clothing that you'd like to donate to a veteran, there'll be boxes for collection at the high school game. And then on October 16th, I believe it is, those will be handed over to the Veterans in Need from Lake County. So that's all I have. Thank you.
I have a question. There used to be a prescription box in the lobby. Is that still there?
Yep. Yes, that's where it's at.
Okay.
And it's just this day we will be there manning that box and collecting and hoping to get a larger draw since it's nationally advertised. And then we also have the ability to take those and have those immediately deposited with the DEA and for destruction.
Yeah, I just didn't want people to think that that
Come
box
anytime.
is no longer there
Yep.
and it's still available every day.
Yep, it's every day.
Okay. Is that it? Are we just, we're good? Okay. All right, so let's see, where does that take us to? Okay, community, let's go to item D, Community and Economic Development Committee, Trustee Voss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I'm playing with my little problem here, first of all, in case you guys aren't all checking your phones, Bears are up 14-0. So let's take care of the essentials right now. This is regarding a property at 29473 North Route 83 that has requested sewer hookup. Wait, it's coming. That has, or not?
Oh, you got it printed out. No?
You need help?
No. Mr. Sullivan, that was very funny. So, my little tablet here is frozen. So this is regarding 29473 North Route 83, which,
Are you gonna use that?
yeah, well, it's waiting and we're,
You have multiple sessions.
thank you. So this is a property owner. Is the property owner present? No. Okay. So this is a property owner who is outside the village of Mundelein, who considered annexing to Mundelein or staying in the county, and they need to resolve their sanitary sewer issue. And so they have requested several options. One of them is that we could let them hook up to us even though they're outside the county. Another one is that we say we only hook up if you annex to us. One is that you can do whatever you want to do, which we are least likely to say. Anyway, so there are lots of different options, and this is authorizing, so this is a motion to authorize the village administrator to provide written notification to the property owner regarding the connection to our sewer system, and that connection will require that they annex.
Motion by Voss,
Second.
second by Abernathy. Discussion.
Are they, you said they're not here?
No, well, they didn't answer me when I asked if they were here. I'm
Okay.
guessing they're not.
So our options are, I see where they are on this map. They're very close to it. They're close to Chadwick for
Yes.
hooking up. But they don't want to? Or do they want to?
They want to, they don't want to conform to village requirements, which they would need to do when they annex.
Well,
Do you want to correct me if I'm wrong? Is that do I have that right?
What they would like to do is obviously get a permit from any agency that would give them a permit. The county's ready to issue them a permit, but before they issue them a permit for their tanks, they need to go to, in this case, to us, and ask if we're open to providing them sewer. If we're open to providing them sewer, but the only way that we will provide them sewer is by way of annexation, the county will deem it that the sewer connection is not available and will issue them, issue the property owner the permit to install the tanks.
Could you clarify for the board, though? We have tried to work with this property owner to see if he wanted to annex and be part of the village.
Yes, that is correct. We received a petition from the property owners about a year ago requesting annexation. We tried to work with them on a number of land use issues, and this was around the time that the property owner was having issues with the county over the same land uses and other environmental issues. And so they came to us. They looked for an opportunity to have those discussions. We were open to them. We were open to having a dialogue. We were certainly open to considering them and annexing them in, but we needed to resolve those land use issues, and the property owner needed to go through a public hearing. But before anything, we needed them to identify all the land use issues so we can make it clear for the record what we were looking to annex and what type of land uses they were proposing. And honestly, we never got that far.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, my
Okay.
understanding is that the property owner wants to improve his property by building some type of service area. In the meantime, he is not in compliance with the county's regulations regarding a septic system. And so he came to the village. But understanding that he's over 1,000 feet away from our hookup on Chadwick, is that correct?
He's 35 feet away.
Yeah, based on
Yeah,
based on our research, he's less than 1,000 square feet.
well-
Excuse me, less than 1,000 feet away
Well,
from available
950,
sewer.
but if he goes through wetlands, but then going around the wetlands, it's over 1,000 feet. So at $40 or $50 a foot, he's getting a little heartburn about that amount of expense. He has no great desire to annex to the village or to stay in Lake County, or he wants to do his business. He wants to improve his business. And so what I think he would like to have is the village to say he can't hook up to our public sewer. Then the county will give him a permit to put in a holding tank. Right? And which is, I suspect that over a number of years, he will experience perhaps more expense than if he annexed to Mundelein hooked up to our sewer. Nevertheless, the land use that he proposes perhaps doesn't meet with our codes or our thoughts about land use.
So,
I think this is a truck maintenance building or a storage building, maintenance/storage building that he wants to build
so these,
or improve upon. And he needs a permit from the county, and the county, besides
So
giving a
he
building
wants
permit, they want him to
put a
change-
septic field in?
No, they want a holding tank.
He wants a holding tank. He won't,
That's what I understand to be.
Yeah, whatever reason, his septic field is either failing or there's some issues with it.
well,
and-
because if he's putting oils and solvents into a septic field, it's not good for the land. That's, I think, a big problem that they have. I would imagine the county would have problem with these solvents and oils going into. Yeah, they have oil, grease, and solvents going out into a septic, going out into the land. That's what a septic field is. It disperses the stuff into the soil. It's kind of destroying.
So just to clarify, by the fact that we're going to require annexation for him to hook up, in the county's eyes, that means that it's technically not available then. Then they have the
Yes.
free rein to give the
Correct.
permit.
That's correct.
That's really what we're doing here.
Okay.
Yes.
Is requiring annexation for him to hook up. In the county's eyes, it's therefore not available, and
Well,
then off he goes and he gets
Yes.
his approvals.
Yeah,
So that's what
actually-
we're doing here.
Actually, we can't deny him annexation until he requests it. He's not requesting it. He's requesting sewer. And what we're telling him is, no, we're not going to give him sewer
Correct,
unless you annex. And
That's
and-
correct.
And he's not about to request that. He's not
Right.
going to petition for annexation.
Correct.
He doesn't want that. He wants to run his business.
Okay.
Right. So we're just doing something that'll clear the way for him to get the county's approval.
Yes.
Okay?
right.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Boss?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kim?
yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, on to private free libraries. The first thing is, I'm going to make a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes and findings of fact.
Motion by Voss.
Second.
Second by Abernathy. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like that item pulled off the agenda because as of 4:45 today, when I went on the website and pulled down the meeting minutes, they are still reflecting me as attending as a trustee, and that has not been corrected yet. So I do not want to approve these meeting minutes until that oversight's been corrected.
Well, should we, do we pull
I
that?
mean, is that,
Can we just approve it with those changes?
were the minutes, what
Well,
was
we
approved
can't-
earlier?
Are you quite sure that's the case? Because
I
didn't
pulled, this
think
is a
Robin was
copy I
on.
pulled as of 4:45 today.
Yes.
And these meeting minutes are listing me as attending as trustee Robin Meyer. And
Well-
that was to have been corrected to reflecting that I attended as a resident.
Well, as we discussed last time, we can't require them to change their minutes. Their minutes reflect what they feel is appropriate. You can vote no to us accepting the minutes, but I think that their minutes are accurate, and they've opted to keep them as they are.
Have they discussed this?
Well, yeah, just to clarify a little bit, the Planning and Zoning Commission did take action and did meet last week. They did approve the revised meeting minutes. What has happened is that we haven't unfortunately had the opportunity to post those newly approved meeting minutes on our website. But the changes to the meeting minutes have been made.
Okay.
And they did take action on those meeting minutes last week. We just haven't posted those new approved meeting minutes on our website. So what Robin is saying, yes, what you see on the website are the old meeting minutes and do not reflect the Planning and Zoning Commission's recent action.
I would feel more comfortable actually seeing a copy of the corrected minutes before I vote on it.
Well,
I think that, Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes.
might, Trustee Meyer's concerns are well taken. Certainly that objection and those comments and her concerns could be made part of this record. And understanding that those minutes are being corrected and will be posted as such.
I just want clarification, and Mr. Barrera, were the corrected minutes provided to the Plan Commission and then acted upon?
The corrected minutes were presented to the Plan Commission. The corrected minutes were included as part of the board packet. And so the copy that I gave Trustee Meyer is the minutes that were attached as part of this agenda item.
But we didn't have this in our board packet because I specifically looked for it, which is why I went out to the website.
I'll have to look into that. I know that I just pulled it out of my packet that my assistant put together for me this morning.
Well, I was there this afternoon, again, re-verifying, and so I checked earlier than 4:45, and at 4:45 was when I pulled the meeting minutes off of the website because they weren't in my packet to review. And I was on the website looking at that point.
So, to clarify, the meeting minutes that he just handed you, those are from last Wednesday's Plan Commission.
Right, and they do show revised.
Okay, so that's what we're voting on.
Right. But this is the first time I've seen that.
Okay.
well, and to Trustee Sullivan's point, I think we can stipulate on the record that we acknowledge that you wish to have been acknowledged as speaking as a resident and not as a trustee at that time.
Right,
So
but I
that's
just want to
clearly
make
on the
sure.
record.
I want to make sure it's clearly posted on the website accurately. That's my major concern.
Okay.
And so I do have a paper copy here, and I'm going on faith now that that's going to be posted on the website.
Yeah, we get those posted as quickly as we can, so it's been.
It's been a couple of days, I
2
believe.
business days since they, 3 business days. So, yeah, I would expect those to be reposted or posted sometime this week.
And the minutes of this meeting will reflect, your desire as well. So, anyone else? Okay,
Hold on.
yes, Trustee Abernathy.
We're we're just accepting the findings
The
and
first-
facts.
Right.
Right,
We're not-
we're
Okay,
we're
fine,
receiving
sorry.
those.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
Yes?
Abernathy.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Motion
Okay.
carries.
Next up is a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commissioner's recommendations. Again, we're just accepting them. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Voss,
Second.
second by Kim. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next up, sorry, we're going to get to a motion regarding these public free libraries. But before we do, private free libraries, sorry. Before we do, there are, in our packet, there was a list of original staff proposed languages and the new language. And one of the things was that these private free libraries must be located on private property. And actually,
Trustee Voss, when we discuss these, could we reference the item number?
item number 2.
Thank you.
Actually, I believe the Plan Commission said they didn't have to be on private property because they suggested that they allowed to be on park property, which would be public property. Right? So item number 2 is actually incorrect.
In terms of it being changed or not? Being a yes to a no to a yes in terms of being changed, or?
Yes, it was
Okay.
changed, and it was changed to say that it could be on public property, that these private free libraries, if you will, should be able to be located in parks, on parkland.
Oh.
And that was part of the discussion that the library director, Mr. Adams, had, or
Scott Davis?
Scott Davis, sorry. Scott Davis had said that he had already been talking to the Park District, and they had expressed an opinion or expressed that they would like to have them at like park trails and walking trails and some of that.
So, if I could just, Karen, to address some of your issues, the library director, Scott Davis, was present for discussion and said he was, and the Friends of the Libraries group were supportive of this notion of having these little libraries. They don't feel that it's taking away from them. They felt that it's adding to them, and they were encouraging of it. Now, what's not in here, which we have yet to discuss, is really if there would be some way that we would have of issuing a permit or limiting the number in each neighborhood, or somehow if there are any requirements that we would choose to place on these. So we, as a board, have yet to discuss making any changes. And so, I don't know, I guess I'm going to make this motion, and then we can amend it in any way that
Okay.
we would like. So I'll make a motion to pass an ordinance amending certain sections of the Village of Mundelein zoning ordinance, Title 20 of the Municipal Code of Mundelein regarding regulations for private free libraries.
Motion by Voss,
Second.
second by Kim. Now, can we clarify what she brought up, item 2,
just
by
to-
chance?
Sure,
Thank you.
just to clarify, the first point about number 2, or on-site development standards number 2, I think what the more appropriate section is section 1 to that statement, in that, yes, there was dialogue about whether or not we wanted to limit these to just single-family districts. And so the response of that is no, they wanted to allow them in all zoning districts. Statement number 2 is really just pertaining to whether or not there was a desire to have these structures within the village right-of-ways.
Okay, so they have to be not in the village right-of-way, but they can be in any zoning
District,
area.
and that includes park district lands.
Okay, and originally it had been suggested that they be made of wood, and that was then changed. We can change it back to be a wood, more recognizable structure. We can also, taken out was that they, originally it was they had to be installed on a single post or securely affixed to a fence, and that was changed to must be permanently installed. So I'm not sure if the board wants this to be more regulated or less regulated, and if we want to just try a few by permit or have at it.
Well, can I suggest that we just go down this list
Sure.
and just see if there's any trustee that wishes to go to the original staff language? How about that?
Okay.
All right, because you want to,
Well, so item number 1 is, it was originally suggested that these little free libraries only be allowed in single-family and two-family zoning districts. It was changed when it was recommended that they could be anywhere, including on, in commercial or park use, thinking that, that everyone should have the opportunity to have one.
Can I ask a?
Yes.
Now, by doing this, it's allowed in all zoning districts. What's going to get me is, we could have these pop up anywhere.
Yes.
Can't we start with a small pilot program that's permitted, rather than, and see how it goes? Let's try to set some guidelines, maybe some design guidelines. I do not want this to not be a permitted process.
Okay.
you don't want it to be
It
permanent?
should be permitted. We should know where these are gonna be. We should know what these are gonna look like. Or
So-
we're gonna end up with, who knows what.
Before we weigh in on this, while we're having this discussion, if I could just add one more thing, which is whether you wanted them permitted or not permitted, how would you feel about them down here on the plaza?
You want me to?
Yes.
You want
Yeah,
me to
going in a
go.
circle?
We'll go in a
Okay.
circle.
If you have rules, and you have a whole list of rules here, then you need to have a permit process, all right? Now, when you talk about residential, non-residential, there are some public areas that are really a natural, train stations.
Yes,
bus
there's already
stations.
one there.
Right. Private areas won't be outside because private areas are businesses, or I mean, commercial areas, public areas that are commercial, privately owned, are businesses and people will come in. Restaurants. Restaurants perhaps are unnatural for some type of reading material other than those free real estate brochures or whatever they hand out. I think a restaurant would be just a natural place to have some reading material. The Friends of the Cook Memorial Library have a little free library in the train station at Prairie Crossing. We need one in our train station.
We have one.
Oh,
And
good.
it's,
Okay,
and
well,
it's run by the Friends
haven't
of the
been there
Fremont
lately.
Library.
I haven't been there lately. But in regard to permits, you need a permit process. You want to charge for it, that's here-
Yeah, I
neither
don't
here
care
nor
about
there.
that.
But if you have rules, then you need to have a permit so that people are aware of the rules and that we can go and see that the rules are being followed.
Okay,
All right?
yep.
Okay, so we've heard from, how do you, on permits, in terms of having it be required for permits.
Well, we'll have set ordinances that are public. I feel that a permit process, if we're not charging money, it's almost a why would we? You know, I understand if it was like a parking permit, a dog, tag, like we're making money off of them, but this is just, like, our ordinances are out there. I would be in favor of not having a permit because I would say that the ordinances exist already.
But if we have no permit, then why even have rules? If we have the rules, you have to have,
Having a permit on file with the village is different than not having rules.
this way you know that they know what the,
That's
go
a
ahead,
way
John.
for the government to know that you have a little private library is what a permit is.
Yeah, I would-
Hear from
I
Mr.
would-
Lebato here.
I would just add something to the discussion that the permit fee can be whatever you want it to be. It could be a free permit if you want it to be. But the value of having a permit is a scenario where somebody may put one of these up because they hear that it's permitted and never take the time to see what the rules are. And then what oftentimes happen is then somebody sees it and doesn't like it and calls the village and says, hey, they put up one of these free library things and I read your rules and it doesn't comply with it. So they spent all this time and energy putting it up, and then we're out there, the first time they contact us, we're out there telling them to take it down. And that's we call that a negative contact with the resident, and we try and avoid those. And so going through a process to make sure that things are done correctly has some value. You can charge $0 for it if you want. But I think the process would be important to make sure that they get it right at the beginning.
Okay, so Mr. Lebato, would the permit process need to be added to this?
No,
we don't.
No, we'll come back and amend, I think, our section on permits and provide for this to be some fee.
Okay.
It'll be essentially to establish the fee.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, we've already discussed two.
So,
Sorry?
put your light on there. All right, there you go.
Waiting for you to
All right.
make the full circle. Okay, part of the, staff recommendation and part of the research was looking at other areas that have these little free libraries, and per the information they found, there were no towns that they identified in Illinois that required the recommendations and rules that we have, that they don't have it as an ordinance or as a permitted process. Now, looking at the Little Free Library, littlefreelibrary.org website, I would be willing to say that the majority of the towns that have these libraries also do not have corresponding ordinances. Now, I do know that staff found one in Wisconsin that had an ordinance, and they, took some of the information from that ordinance. If you look at the type of person that's going to want these little free libraries in their yards, they're typically very highly educated and very concerned about literacy. On the littlefreelibrary.org website is they have libraries that you can purchase. They have plans for libraries. You can buy kits. And they have recommendations and suggestions on many of the questions that have come up here. I really feel that we're getting carried away on trying to overly regulate every single aspect of someone's life, and this could be considered yard art. They're typically not very ornate. They're usually structurally housed to put books in. And I don't feel that we need to have all of these regulations, much less require permits.
I'm afraid if we don't, we're going to have someone putting a,
Got it.
Without a permit, they're gonna put it in?
without a
Is that what you're
permit,
saying,
without
a permit?
any type of, you know, or without any type of structure, I'm very afraid of what we might get on front yards.
Can I just say that according to these
But
rules,
I understand these rules, I'm not going against these rules, but as trustee Meyer just said, she doesn't want any of these rules.
well, I'm going to say that according to these rules, I could put in my front yard a ceramic toilet because it is a structure that is not more than 3 feet wide, 3 feet tall, 3 feet deep. It is weatherproof. It follows all of the requirements that we have, and it can house books. You could just take the lid off the tank. So, bottom line is, I understand what the point of these are, that we should be able to share our books with our neighbors. And I don't know why, to be honest with you, really. I have no idea of why we have spent hours and hours of not only this board's time, but staff time on something that I consider to be absolutely just.
Why can't we just do if they want to go to littlefreelibraries.org, order their thing, they have a plan, it's already done.
Well, because you don't want it just to be little free libraries. There are other ways that they can do it. But I don't want someone putting a toilet tank out in their front yard either. So I would just say that this needs to be a permit process, and we need to be done with this and moving on. And really, I understand that it is this board's responsibility to pass ordinances, just every board's. It's not because we do it for the people who always want to do the right thing and always want to give it their best and are always only community-minded, that we passed rules because not everybody lives up to the same standards.
This whole thing says
And
little
we
free
need to
libraries.
pass minimum standards. I get that, and I think if we're going to pass some minimum standards, then let's make them realistic. Let's require a permit. Let's have a way for us to know where these are in our community and to follow up and see if they really are an issue and require staff time or not. But really, at this point, we have wasted so much of our time on something that is really so minor, it's getting to be ridiculous. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think we should, I think that we should amend this because I think that we should have more rules about it, and I think that it has to have a permit process.
Okay, let's just get a consensus on this, right? So I think we have a consensus that it should have permits,
Yes.
if I'm counting correctly.
Yes.
Okay? I would be in favor of permits, okay? Trustee Voss, there's a few things on here. If someone wants to change from a yes to a no, can we just go through those quick?
Yes.
All right.
So we did, do we need it to be installed on a single post or securely affixed to a fence?
Yes.
No.
I'm sorry, what number is this one?
This is number 4. I'm just going to yeses because with things that were changed from staff reports.
Private free libraries must be permanently installed. It should be on a post or affixed to a fence, like a mailbox.
Can I just ask, is there some other way to permanently install something?
I think it makes it easier that it was phrased that way, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So
It's fine.
This is done permanently installed on a fence or post. That's the only way you're going to permanently install it anyway? No, I'm getting a shake of a head no. How else are you going to do it? Stick it in concrete, I guess, in the ground?
concrete slab.
Yeah, there's lots of ways. I think it's better to keep it more general, permanently installed. We know what permanent means.
Yeah.
If we limit it to fence and post, somebody's going to come up with an idea that would be acceptable and would have to say no.
Okay. All right. Going down to number 8, the next thing that was changed. The library must be made of primarily of wood. Plexiglass should be used instead of regular glass. It was changed, actually primarily because of Trustee Abernathy, or Trustee Myers.
This didn't have anything to do with me. This came out of discussion from the Plan Commission.
You were advocating that it should not be of wood, that it could be made of lots of other very nice things. And so the question is, again, must be constructive, durable, weatherproof materials. Do we want it to be wood? Do we want to set some structure about it? Or is a ceramic toilet okay?
No, it should be made.
All right, I think that was removed saying wood and glass and then replaced with durable, weatherproof. That way you can choose the material.
Yes, but the question
Durable
is.
weatherproof is, it can be a ceramic toilet.
So we're jumping to everyone's going to have 9 events with alcohol, so everyone's going to put toilets in their front yard is what we're jumping to here.
No, we're saying that
But
don't you
are
want to
we
have
as a
some
government
structures?
entity then going to force everyone to use only wood and glass is basically what the other one was asking.
No, it says wood and plexiglass,
Wood and plexiglass.
no glass.
So you're saying everyone must make it as a government mandate out of wood and plexiglass, as opposed to their own durable materials that they so choose?
No, I don't care if we change.
Just to also, that Plan Commission had debated this amongst themselves, and that was their recommendation.
Yes, I was at that Plan Commission meeting. I heard the debate. I understand where some of the structure and discussion came from. My point is that it doesn't have to be only wood. We can make it say something else, but we might want to put some structure around what it can't be. Does it have to be only wood? Could it be,
Which then leads itself to must be constructed of durable, weatherproof materials, which covers other types of materials that are both durable and weatherproof.
I would disagree that we should label what they can't use. If we say you can't use a toilet, and then they start being creative and try using like a bed frame, or I don't know, they're gonna, why say specifically what they can't use in terms of shapes of.
because as I said before, we don't pass ordinances for people necessarily who are thoughtful and
Follow the rules.
think the same way. We do it to set a basic standard. I think it's reasonable that if people are going to have these in their front yard, there be some design standard for them. They're not only because their neighbors may not appreciate what their choice of material is, but also to make them more easily identifiable as you're going through a neighborhood, because they all look fairly similar, that you don't have to see, was that person got weird art in their yard? Or, no, that's a library, because they all sort of look the same.
8 is redundant of 7.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, trustees.
what if we said that Little Free Libraries must be made of durable material, the design of which must be approved by the building commissioner?
Maybe on the permit,
No,
there
I
could
guess
be
that
a
could
box
be
where they
fine.
draw
You'll have to
the,
look.
I'm sure there will be.
I mean, if they draw it on the permit application, that would take care of everything you're requesting.
I think that we need to be more specific about what they can be made out of, and I also need to tell you that Chicago Bears 17, New Jersey 6. Moving on.
So 7 and 8, one has to be yes, the other one has to be no. Currently, 7 is no, 8 is yes. So does that stay, or do we reverse it and go with wooden plexiglass, and the weatherproof material comment is removed?
Well,
Which would it be? That's what we want to know, right? I mean, I
Yes.
think that's where we're at.
7 was an original recommendation.
right, 7 was original, they didn't change that, they changed number 8.
Because it was redundant with 7.
No, it's not.
7 and 8 could both be no, because we could go back to must be made primarily
Right.
of wood with plexiglass instead of regular glass.
Correct. So both are.
What about if you want to use like Ultra Deck, which looks like wood, but it's, I think this is like, you know, we
I
have
think
an
you're
engineer-
overthinking it.
Yeah, I think you're overthinking it. We have an engineer and a lawyer on our plan commission, and this is like what they came up with as the best of their ability after debating number 7 and number 8. And we're trying to decide their building materials. First of all, if you want to refute their design, then fine, in the permit, put a box where they can sketch out their design. That way you could see if it looks like a toilet before we approve it. But in terms of the building material, if we say it's gotta be durable, then we as a government, we've done it.
Would that be acceptable?
I
like
think it
the-
would be
we can-
acceptable.
Mr. Lebedo, we can have a little area on the permit application where they sketch out a picture of this thing so we can make sure it doesn't look like a toilet, right?
Yeah, we'll
Can we do
require
that?
that as part of the permit application. So
There we go.
how big is it, location of it, material, so on and so forth.
Can we do that? You good with that, Trustee Voss?
This whole thing has gone
No.
beyond ridiculous
We're-
to me.
We're coming in the home stretch. Come on now. We can do this. Are you okay with the sketch permit, Trustee Sullivan? Sure. Okay? Trustee Voss?
Let's just
Okay.
move on.
Move on.
Very good.
You can move on, it's totally unnecessary, but move on.
In terms of, but we'll keep 7 and 8 right
Yes.
the current way. Durable materials, no discussion of wood and all this. It's durable materials. That's what came out of the Plan and Zoning Commission.
Well,
Keep that the
I'm going to
same.
tell you, we should, if you're going to keep anything, keep the plexiglass instead of regular glass. Because the last thing you want is the glass breaking on the sidewalk or into the right-of-way and a child falling and getting glass in his knee. I mean, you don't want glass.
But there's safety glass. So, I mean, I don't think you want to get into that either, because there are,
Can
you
we
know,
give discretion to staff when it says durable
Okay,
weatherproof
whatever.
materials? They sketch
Okay.
it out, they see it.
Okay.
Okay?
Whatever.
All right, we keep it the way it is. Good.
The
Anything
next
else?
thing, moving on, is it was suggested by staff that these be at least 10 feet away from any driveway.
Right.
It was changed to say it should not be in a sight triangle and must not obstruct the vision of pedestrians, motorists, or bicyclists, but the 10 feet away from any driveway was taken away, I think because they thought it was too hard on people to be 10 feet away from a driveway.
I'm fine with it.
I don't care, but if we get sued because we permitted one of these to be placed somewhere that it shouldn't have been placed, I'm having them call you and you first. That's all I'm saying. This is, I mean, really, we're here, the board has a purpose, and the purpose is to set structure and to set minimum standards. And if safety isn't one of our minimum standards, I don't know what we're doing here. Little free libraries must not be removed if books are not present, must be removed if books are not present for greater than 180 days. They removed that.
based on that it's covered in the property maintenance code.
Well, I don't think that whether or not books are in it is actually covered in the property maintenance code. It's whether or not, so they could maintain it and leave it empty for as long as they want, because that's what's covered in the property maintenance code.
Right, but the concern was that if there weren't books in it, it would become derelict. And if it becomes derelict, then that's covered in the property maintenance code.
Yes, but it could still look good and just be totally empty, and they could be using it for a birdhouse, because it's a big birdhouse now.
Or bee's nest.
There you go.
That wouldn't be possible because we don't allow home beekeeping in the Village of Mundelein.
Okay, does anyone want anything changed?
I think that they should be removed if they're
Yes.
not being used. If you haven't used it in 6 months, it should have to be removed.
Well, who's going to monitor that, really?
Really, I think the neighbors are.
Well-
And I think that it's something that the village should have to have some teeth on to say that it has to be removed. How many empty buildings do we have around this village that we can do nothing about because we don't have any teeth? We have an opportunity to understand at some point that these may become abandoned, this may become out of vogue because printed material may no longer be used. Who knows? But it's reasonable to me to think that you have an end date on them. And if they're being used, then you never need this end date. This end date is here for someone who has one that should be removed prior to letting it sit there and rot and then have to be removed. Shouldn't we allow for it to be removed before it has become totally disintegrated so that it does not meet the property codes?
Okay, let's go down the row. What do you think?
I'm fine as is because it was
Okay.
thoroughly discussed by the Plan Commission.
Okay?
I think it should go back to no books, more than 180 days, remove it.
Okay. Trustee Kim?
Yes, I have a question. Then how would we start the 180 days counting process formally?
Thank you.
When we become aware of it.
So when we become aware would be the first day we start the 180-day counter.
Right, yes.
I'm going to go with the Plan Commission suggestion and leave it the way it is.
Trustee Sullivan?
Well, it wouldn't be a great concern to me whether there were books in it or not. I'm more concerned with what it looks like. And if it is, if it's thrown into a condition of dereliction and it's falling apart, I think there needs to be some way of removing it. And I know a number of my neighbors, if I put one up and it was falling apart, it would be gone. And perhaps that would take care of the situation. But if you want that in the ordinance, I would aim the removal of these really in regard to the condition that they appear to be, rather than if there's any books in them or not.
Yeah, I think that's the part that's covered by the property maintenance code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would leave it unrestricted in regard to what's in it.
You would leave it unrestricted?
Sure.
Okay, in that context, I'll leave it unrestricted as well, so we keep it the way the Plan and Zoning Commission brought it to us. Okay? Okay.
The next two changes were, they added that they can't be placed in an easement and they can't have electrical or lights on them.
And Mr. Mayor, you know, if we're talking about safety, and safety was brought up as a concern that we have on the electrical or lights, we have, I'm not sure that the Plan Commission talked about this aspect. In fact, I know they didn't, that a good share of our winter is dark, very early in the day. And what harm is it if someone has a solar light or a light that when you open the door turns on inside the box so you can see, or if it is placed near your outdoor light post? I really don't think that that condition should be added, because I think there is a safety concern, and that for the safety of the people utilizing it, I think lights, if they're there, are an advantage. And I'm not saying they have to be put there, but I think if they shouldn't be restricted from being there.
Okay.
The Plan Commission did discuss lights, and they wanted them not to have lights because they were concerned about placing it being more burdensome perhaps on the neighbors. And again, we're setting very minimum standards. If you allow lighting, people might get overboard, and then you have to control that. So they felt that no lights was the best way to go.
Question on the lights.
Yeah, the lights, we're just,
Would I ask Victor?
Oh, yeah.
So what's the question?
Was a part of the problem why lighting was an issue, maybe because of fire or electrical, like shorting?
No, I think the concern about lighting was to draw, well, the concern about the lighting was to, a fear of drawing additional attention to these boxes for overnight for kids and just, having them exposed to vandalism.
Okay. I would see where maybe small solar lights would probably be okay, especially at nighttime, if you don't want to, accidentally run your bike off the road and run into it, just to know it's there. But, I mean, I guess I would be all right with it not having spotlights and all the other kind of lights, but.
Well, they're not differentiating.
There's no in between, it's either lights or no lights.
Right, and again, you said before you were fine with what the plan commission said, they said no lights.
I'm okay with the no lights then, if it's gotta be one or the other.
So you're no on the lights, okay?
Well, I mean, I'm taking what plan commission has given us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. Trustee Sullivan, lights, no lights.
I'd be concerned about hooking house power up to one of these. That throws in a whole other aspect of permitting.
Mm-hmm.
We got electricity coming, and this is a much bigger issue. However, I think someone mentioned solar. There are all kinds of really inexpensive solar-powered lights that would be more than adequate for something like this, and I think those should be allowed, but not house current to one of these.
Well, so you want us to change it from lights or no lights to only solar lights?
Solar. Powered lamp on one of these.
Solar, battery powered, I mean, you've got lots of,
Really?
No house current.
Would Trustee Meyer be acceptable of solar lights?
I certainly would, because I think there is a safety concern, especially during the winter months.
How about if we just add that solar lighting is allowed and keep it the way it is, but we say that solar lighting is allowed?
Solar or battery operated?
Solar or battery operated lighting is allowed. Can we add that?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Anything else? Must not be placed in an easement. We good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, I think, Trustee Voss, I think we're done.
Great.
Are we done? Should we call the question?
Sure, the Bear score is now 17-13.
All right. So, this is on the final motion regarding this topic under your report. So, clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
No.
Kim.
Yes.
Abernathy.
No.
Meyer.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
That's 3-2, right?
Yes.
I would vote yes. Okay.
Okay, so then, I just want to say on Saturday, there was Buzz on Biz, which was on Route 60, which was the first open-air market opportunity for local businesses to show their wares to residents. I myself purchased a tie for my husband from Tie Mart. We still have a few more weeks of the Friday Farmers Market going on, and that's all.
Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to, let's see, Communication and Marketing Committee. Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no motions tonight. I just have one quick update here. In addition to all our marketing materials being made with the branding logo, all the trustees should have received their business cards. Business cards were ordered for everyone with the new branding. And on October 7th to 8th, apparently the Community Development Department will be going to a trade show for the village, the International Council of Shopping Centers, so that's neat. A whole bunch of things were made for that booth, but I just wanted to really put it out there that we are getting out there, like, to bring in business. So I'm really glad for that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Trustee Abernathy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of things this evening. First thing I have is on Hickory Woods. We executed a bill of sale. These aren't written.
There's a motion.
Yeah, I know, there's a motion. They're just not written. I don't like the way it's on there. Okay. A motion to adopt a resolution accepting the Ryland Public Subdivision improvements in the Hickory Woods subdivision.
Motion by Abernathy,
So moved. I mean, I'm sorry.
second by Kim. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Motion carries.
Then I have a motion to approve the Illinois Commerce Commission stipulated agreement 1799 for repairs to the Allenson Road Railroad grade crossing and authorize the mayor and village clerk signatures on the agreement.
Motion by Abernathy,
Second.
second by Voss. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Anything else?
Let's see, Mr. Boucher, anything else to report?
No, we should have Division Street open tomorrow. It's
Okay.
closed right now. We were finishing up the patchwork today, so we should have that open up by tomorrow morning.
Perfect. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, that takes us, oh, you done? Okay. Takes us to other reports. Does any trustee have any other report, topic?
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I'd like to
Trustee Martin.
provide an update about the Village Hall Study Committee.
Oh, good, okay.
We've had two meetings. One, we went through the Village Hall as a tour to look at everything. The next meeting was a brainstorming session for ideas related to potential uses or disposition of the old Village Hall. In addition to looking at those types of ideas, we also discussed any of the ideas that were presented needed to have a corresponding funding mechanism. Not only would there, if the recommendation was to keep this building for another purpose, not only would renovation be required as a cost factor, but also the ongoing maintenance of it moving forward. So the members did look at that aspect also, discuss different funding options. At this point, our next meeting will be to review what we're going to put out as a public survey. So we're going to take those recommendations or the high-level brainstorming ideas, put that into the form of a survey which will be available to the public to weigh in on. So the public will be able to weigh in on potential uses or disposition and also funding mechanism ideas. We look to that survey being available in October. It will run for approximately 3 weeks. After the survey closes, we will then reconvene, look at the public input as received from the survey results, and then look at any type of studies that we may need to request or additional cost information related to some of the high runner ideas. And then we're looking at that taking place in potentially November, December timeframe, and January to take all of the findings that we've received from all of the outputs and information that we've done and start developing a recommendation for the board, which would be presented in the March timeframe. I have to say that the people that are on the committee have been excellent, have all really contributed to the process, have been very engaged and excited, and I really appreciate their dedication to this.
Well, kudos to you for stepping up and doing this. It's a lot of work. On the survey, once again, when is the public survey planning? When are you going to do that?
We're looking at having it available in October. We will, it will be available online and also paper copies in the Village Hall. We don't have an exact date yet because we still have to meet and finalize the language and get all those details pulled together, talk to IT. And that we would also, we're looking at getting that fact published so that people are aware that it's out there to do that. And so we're fine tuning all those mechanisms.
Okay.
So this, can I ask a
Yes,
question?
yes.
It'll all be done in-house?
What do you mean all?
The survey will be done in-house and online? We
Yes,
not a
correct.
big budget on this?
No, it's done in-house.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot. Anyone else?
Actually,
Oh, yes, trustee Kim.
when Trustee Meyer talked about surveys, that reminded me that actually there's a meeting tomorrow for the utility box art committee. And so just to give you a quick update, that we'll also be putting questions together to send a survey out to the public to see how they feel about the current utility boxes that have been painted, and to then use that data to figure out whether we should allow this then again for next year, because it is a trial as it is right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
And Mr. Shuptail, was there anything else that? Okay.
All right. Okay, scheduled business omnibus vote items. Does anyone wish to pull items 1 or 2? No? Okay. Then I need a motion to pass omnibus vote items 1 and 2.
So moved.
Motion by Abernathy,
Second.
second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Boss?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to village staff reports. Village Administrator, Mr. Lebedo.
I just have one item on the agenda tonight. Looking for a motion to approve a resolution regarding a term sheet for an economic incentive agreement with Medline. I have Christopher Howard is in the audience. For those of you that maybe didn't meet him, he's the CFO for Medline, so if there are some questions, maybe Chris can answer those questions for the board. I'd like to just kind of let the board know a little bit of the background on this. We had been advised through DECO that there was some interest in other states to try and attract Medline away from Mundelein. And so we are obviously interested in that. And as part of our efforts, we look at a couple of things, and one is business attraction and business retention. And oftentimes we are entering into incentive agreements that are for the purpose of business attraction. We aren't often in the mode of trying to retain businesses. And quite frankly, all of our incentive agreements in the past have been for business attraction. And the most notable one is one that we've just completed, and that was with our retailer out northwest of town with Mundelein LLC Corporation, where the Target and the Home Depot is. That agreement was a 12-year agreement, and we paid that off early. As a matter of fact, I think it was almost 10 years. And so this one is a little bit different, and it's business retention. And so although we understand what the project will be, there's a lot of unknowns in terms of retention, because you're working with, trying to retain a business in town. So one of those things that we do know is that the investment that Medline is contemplating on making is a $30 to $40 million investment in the community. About $30 million is building structures that will be on the property. The remaining portions of that will be, say, office furniture, equipment, things of that nature. And the term of the agreement is contemplated to be 15 years. Over that life of 15 years, Medline in the term sheet is agreeing to retain, guarantee 1,600 jobs in Mundelein and the creation of more than 100 additional jobs. The building that they're contemplating is not exactly known yet, but it's somewhere in the range of 100,000 to perhaps as high as 130,000. They haven't gotten that far with that exact evaluation. And so those are some of the key parts of that. The one thing that was of concern to the staffs and that we looked at is the recent incentive agreement, not incentive agreement, but the recent sales tax sharing agreement that we entered into with Medline. That, as you know, the Department of Revenue has changed the rules as a result of ruling that came from the courts. And the long and short of that is that this sales tax sharing agreement is essentially follows the corporation, where all these factors have to be considered. And so when you look at the value of the sales tax sharing agreement over that same 15-year period, you look at probably about a $4.5 million revenue to Mundelein. And then when you look at the incentive agreement that we've proposed in the term sheet over that same period of time, the value of that, based on about a $30 million investment in town, has a value to Medline of about $1.8 million. And those are property taxes. It's a property tax abatement incentive, and that $1.8 million is taxes that we would receive, but will be rebated back to Medline should they choose to build their facility or expand their facility here in town. So that's kind of a broad overview.
Only on the new facility.
Yeah, and this only pertains, the tax abatement is only on the new improvements, not on the existing improvements on the site. I know that's a lot. I know there's been some communication with this previously, but if there's any questions you have for me or Mr. Howard.
Trustee Voss.
So if I could just ask, so we're, in addition to the, as you said, tax sharing that we already did, we're contemplating a property tax abatement, whatever, to give to Medline in the hopes of having them stay here in town, build an additional building, and keep 1,600 jobs here in Mundelein. However, they are also talking out of state and in-state to other communities. Yes?
That's correct.
And I'm just wondering how those other conversations came to be. Would you like to share that with the board?
How the conversations with other municipalities or jurisdictions came to be?
Mm-hmm.
We started a process probably something measured in months ago, recognizing that we're out of space. So we're excited by the fact that we're building on a sales growth trajectory of 46 consecutive years. As a business, that's a high quality problem to manage as to where to continue to put new talented people. And we recognize that we're out of space. You guys may recall that in 2011, Medline constructed a new office facility on our Mundelein campus. I'm either pleased or upset to say that we're completely out of space in that building, despite the fact that we've already had to renovate it a couple of times to try and add more office space versus meeting space. So now we're at the point that we're looking to see where's our long-term home going to be, looking at really several factors, including access to talent, what our existing employee base looks like, as well as overall what economics of those different choices look like.
So you decided that you needed to do more building and you were concerned, and did you hire a realtor that showed you places in other communities? I'm curious as to how a business that's always been in one community goes about shopping themselves to other communities.
We do it mostly with in-house resources. We have a distribution network of over 30 facilities across the country. So in-house capabilities allow us to have those conversations and know who the right contacts are to be able to explore what opportunities would be.
And so I'm going to say something now that I absolutely guarantee my mayor is going to absolutely wish I not say. So I apologize to you in advance.
Or you
But
cannot say it.
he also
That'd
knew
be-
that it was
the
going to
other
come.
choice. You do have a choice.
I know, but Medline has been in our community for a long time. Medline has not really stepped up as a good community partner as I would have wished as a board member that they would have. And now, given the opportunity to continue to grow in Mundelein and to be a good community partner, you're coming to us and saying, well, whoever makes us the best offer is really where we're going. And I understand you're a business and you have to provide. But for us, with residents struggling and with us struggling to provide services to all our residents, to have a business come to us after being here for all these years, that obviously has no loyalty to us, that is making money hand over fist because you're growing at such an alarming rate, and say, if you want to keep us, there's no loyalty here. You have to make us the best deal, and that's how you're going to keep us. As a small business owner, as someone who's concerned about small businesses, for such a large company to come to us and to say that, when we have so many small businesses that we can help, I personally find quite insulting.
So, I'm sorry, Trustee Sullivan.
Oh, well, the mayor.
And you're going to run that business in an intelligent manner, and you're going to do everything you can to be efficient and profitable. That said, this is really my first introduction to the concept of incentive. I know I was up on the sales tax incentive, which we were all happy to provide, and appreciate Medline coming back with its sales tax to Mundelein. But tell me this, do you have a specific dollar amount in which you're looking at a net rate of return and you can't achieve that based on coming to various municipalities in or out of Illinois and looking for an incentive to build this new building? Is there a specific dollar amount? That
Not as much a specific dollar amount.
Okay.
No. Just really
Okay.
trying to understand better
Okay.
from a complete economics perspective
All
what
right.
our options are.
Okay. Just trying to run your business as profitably as you can. All right. We are just one taxing body, and we represent a little more than 10% of the tax bill. Are other taxing bodies, schools, libraries, you talk to them about
So we've started
incentivizing?
conversations with different jurisdictions
Okay.
to talk about what those incentives might look like.
Okay. And you have made a firm decision that you're going to build an office building somewhere with a space approaching 100,000 square feet? And a parking structure?
So what we're looking for is to build onto really a little bit more of a bias towards a single campus. So in
Okay.
Mundelein, that would look like the building of an additional office structure,
Okay.
as well as a parking structure. So to expand in Mundelein and be able to house the 1,600 plus employees that we have, that's what our Mundelein expansion option would look like.
Okay. And the total market value of that is supposedly in the area of $30
Yeah, I think the
million?
numbers that Mr. Lebedo gave are within the range of what we're.
30 million. 30 million is for structures, not equipment or
Yeah, in addition to a
non-real
parking garage.
property. I
Yeah,
mean,
in addition to a parking garage, which we expect.
and the parking garage is taxable at the same basis as the
Correct.
building? All right. So if everybody refunded or incentivized you according to the schedule that I'm looking at here, you perhaps would recapture more than half of the value or the cost of building those buildings. Yeah, I mean, you don't have a specific number. You don't have a specific dollar amount that you need to obtain as incentive from the taxing bodies in Mundelein?
That's correct.
To do this? All right. So it's just a matter of the efficiencies of staying in Mundelein, evidently, as well as any incentive that could come here, opposed to the inefficiencies of moving.
Certainly.
And having incentivization someplace else. All right, okay. I'm not opposed to 1.8 million, or the area of $1.8 million, according to the schedule that has been presented here, a 15-year schedule of decreasing incentivization during that period of time. But I'd be somewhat concerned about schools getting involved with that same level of incentivization. I don't know if we have any conversation with our other taxing bodies.
I've had some conversations. I didn't have update as of today, but I know that Medline has been sitting down with the high school, talking with them. So I don't know the exact status of that. We've chosen to kind of look at this just from our perspective and not worry too much about what the other schools were going to do, other than asking them to participate and expressing Mundelein's interest in keeping Medline in town. And so one last thing, we did kind of estimate, just to maybe refine the point of total estimated value, and when we run the numbers just based on some assumptions, it's not half of the construction value, but somewhere around a third of, if our numbers are correct and the other taxing bodies followed a similar schedule, that value of that would be somewhere around a third of the total cost of construction, assuming 30 million. Let's say.
I suspect that the administration of our fellow taxing bodies may have the same quandary that I have, is that I wonder what Medline really needs to make this happen here in Mundelein. And I also wonder if perhaps it would be maybe more effective if Mundelein communicated with its fellow taxing bodies in regard to a specific number. That is a goal, to see if it couldn't be brought together, something that Medline would find acceptable. And in order to keep Medline here and to the benefit of all of us together, both the business of Medline and the operations and the revenues of Mundelein and its taxing bodies. Do you really want to talk to the schools and other taxing bodies yourself?
I think that we are going to explore each of those conversations, and we don't mind having those conversations on our own. We recognize that each of these different stakeholder groups have different needs, and so I don't know that a single voice representing our company from another constituent would be helpful necessarily.
Well, the benefit might be that if we had a number to pursue, sitting down together, we'd perhaps be more likely to reach that number.
Understood.
Understood. Okay, well, those are just suggestions. But as far as this particular proposal, I don't have a concern with it. I'd kind of like to see the numbers turned around. I'd see the first year 25% and the last 10, 100%. But, and that's another suggestion. At any rate, and I think that because you're a tax-paying organization, a business, that you might find, to some extent, that might be workable for you. Have your accounting people think about not having that expense in the first few years, or in effect having it later. I'm not sure. I don't have a view of your accounting system, nor what you can expense up front. There is another issue here, that another incentive that hasn't been discussed as far as I can tell, and that's one of these sales tax, local sales tax abatements for both your building material and your equipment. I don't know if you've worked anything out like that in the past, but, well, you have. I think you worked that out with Libertyville for your warehouse.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
And those are substantial dollars. So perhaps we should be talking about that, too.
Fair point.
All right? Thank you.
So trustee Voss, you had asked me a couple of direct questions, and just to respond in kind. While I certainly can't comment on Medline's community involvement over the last 30 years, my tenure with the organization certainly does not go back that long. In the time that I've been with the company, I think Medline's been an active community member, both in terms of volunteer hours, supportive events here in Mundelein, as well as financially local charities. So just to be on record in terms of our community involvement, I don't know that your characterization is fair.
Okay, and to be on record in response, I'm not singling out Medline. I didn't mean to only single out Medline. It's frustrating for me in the climate that we're in to have big companies coming, feeling that that's the way that we do business now, coming to communities asking for help when we're all struggling. I know that your owners are philanthropic because I worked for a nonprofit agency that they supported heavily. But it's frustrating when we have small businesses struggling to get by that we really can't help. We have another big retailer that we've worked out a deal with, and you, as our biggest employer, we're in the position of bargaining with when we expect such loyalty from our small businesses and can't offer them these things, even though the majority of people employed and the majority of revenue comes from small businesses. It's a frustration for me, and Medline happens to be the company that's stepping up to take that frustration.
Understood.
Okay?
Trustee Meyer?
Yeah, thank you. Medline is an excellent and very successful business, and I appreciate that. And I know that in the past, that we have asked for like a list of contributions and things that you've done for the committee. And I know that when I saw that list, it was far more extensive than I thought originally. And really would like to thank you for your contribution to the community, because I have seen some of those more detailed records, and we do appreciate that very much. I mean, until recently, we weren't receiving the sales tax revenue, and now we are, and we're, rebating part of that back to you. And that I had a little bit of concern with that at the time, because I felt that, again, that there are many things that this community needs, and to be giving back money that we need, it hurts. It hurts on road improvement, and it hurts on construction of our downtown. And that, one of the suggestions that I had hoped could be placed to more fruition was, that fourth building potentially being at this location in our new downtown to help provide that. It also, the economic value of the commuting that's right available, and I understand that that was explored, and I understand the desire for a single campus. I get all that. I am very concerned with the amount of money and the way that this is structured at this time, and would like to see maybe some more negotiation on it. It's a lot of money. I also have heard from many of our small businesses that have listened to us giving rebates and incentive agreements and different things to large corporations, and they are without anything and have to struggle on their own. So I do feel that pain also. I don't think that I'm ready to say yes tonight based on what I see here. And that's really no slam against Medline. I really appreciate you. You guys are doing great. Want to keep you in the community, but I'm not quite there yet on this agreement.
Anyone else? Oh, Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see here. So from what I wrote down, I heard that Trustee Sullivan said there's no exact figures. And for what no exact figures we have, Trustee Myers not satisfied with the figures were presented. But in our packet, I see it says that Mundelein's maximum obligation will not exceed 1.8 million. So is this figure I'm seeing here our maximum, and that's kind of the...
Correct.
Okay. So it's not an imaginary number like 12 million or something like that. It's maximum of 1.8.
Correct.
The part that says when they build on the new building, that what's being taken from there is the property tax, right? It's not as though they'll move their sales department to the new building and then pay no sales taxes. It's only the property tax that we are...
Correct. It's the added value of the improvement to the campus.
So then, will there just be no tax taken from it, period? Or will it remain taxed as though it's an empty green lot and
No,
just
they will, they will pay the taxes, and we'll receive the taxes, and then we'll rebate back to them at some period in time that we'll work out in some future agreement. But we'll receive the taxes and rebate it back, similar to what we do with sales tax. We receive the sales tax and then share that with Mundelein and our other developers where we've provided incentive agreements.
Okay. So we, as our own entity, can't have it taxed as still a green field when there's a building on it, correct?
No, we have no control over what they taxed. The assessors do that, so.
Okay, it was worth a shot. And then, so another concern is then, okay, so we have this agreement then for 15 years. What's to say that in 5 years there won't be something else that we have to, negotiate, or else, you might leave the state or leave Mundelein? Is there something that we are discussing for retaining the company throughout this contract that we are providing?
Certainly the jobs retention as well as the incremental jobs are commitments that Mundelein's willing to make over a long term.
There's an agreement.
Oh, there is? Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. No? Okay. Okay. Yeah, my comments are, just today I met with a company that's moving to Mundelein. It's one of your vendors on one parts of your company, and unsolicited, they just said, we mentioned we had, you in town. Oh yeah, we do business with them, and unsolicited, they just raved about you. Just the way you conduct yourselves in business, and we have recently gone through a branding process here where we're really hanging our hat on Mundelein being a great place for entrepreneurs. And if there's a poster child for what an entrepreneur can accomplish, it's your company's owners. And so just kudos to your company, and I would agree with Trustee Meyer about your giving. You don't headline your giving. You don't get out there and parade yourself around as a great giver here and a great giver there. But I know my football team has been going through a bunch of the ice packs provided by you guys. So, for those of you that are hesitant about this, or even contemplating a no vote, I would hope that you read what's going on nationally in terms of the competitive nature of communities, poaching businesses from other communities and then labeling it economic development. This vendor we met with today, a vendor of Mundelein, a company moving into Mundelein, talked to us about the efforts that Wisconsin made to get them to move there instead of coming here. Crazy, the efforts being taken by other states to poach companies from Illinois. And then we have it going on from within communities within Illinois. And so I think that this package is one that it keeps us in the running. I would certainly hope to stay in Mundelein. I know that you're looking at other places. You're at a critical place right now, and the little bit that we can contribute, I think that this is still a win-win for us. Hopefully you see it that way, and I'm all in favor of this, and I appreciate your presence in Mundelein, and we certainly hope you choose to stay and grow here and continue a good partnership, what I consider to be an excellent partnership with you guys. So, with that said, yes, Trustee Kim.
One last thing with, thank you. In some ways, I feel giving this money, this tax money back, is an investment in the people you will be hiring. With that expansion, with all the additional employees, hopefully many of them coming from Mundelein, I just hope that maybe you and your employees will consciously make a decision to eat your lunches in Mundelein and spend the tax dollars here. So in some way, it would come back to the people and the small businesses.
I'm unfortunately contributing my own.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I am not against working with Mundelein on some type of agreement. I'm just not sure I am fully supportive of the agreement as presented, and I think that we could still go to the table and continue to work on it.
Okay. I mean, we've put in a lot of work coming up with this. I'm ready to pull the trigger on this. I mean, this is, I think, a good package. We have gone back and forth. And we've invested a lot of staff time on this. So, okay, clerk, please call the roll. Oh, wait a minute. No, we need a motion yet.
There's not a motion.
We don't have a motion yet. So, you want to read it?
Yeah, the motion would be to adopt a resolution approving a term sheet for an economic incentive agreement between the Village of Mundelein and Medline Industries.
So moved.
Motion by Abernathy.
Second.
Second by Sullivan. Discussion any further? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Meyer?
No.
Kim?
Yes.
Motion carries. Very good.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I
Anything
have-
else?
No, I have
Mr.
nothing more
Lebedo?
in my
Okay.
report, and there's no need for executive session tonight.
Village attorney is not present. Village clerk, report from you.
Yes, the packets for the April 7th consolidated election are currently available at the front desk right out there here in Village Hall. There are 3 trustee positions available, and circulation for signatures begins tomorrow.
Okay. All right. That takes us to any other business? None? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Voss, second by Abernathy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. We are adjourned.